Hello, my name is Dorn, and I'm a professional drum set player in the Dallas area. And today I'm going to be talking about how to get started on the drum set and some grooves you can be practicing really easily, really quickly, that are a ton of fun. And if you already play drum set, we're going to talk about some variations that will give you some more things to choose from while you're playing and some more options. So let's jump in, let's get started. Alright, so when you're thinking about drum set playing, and you're thinking about playing the drum set, a term that gets thrown around a lot, and it gets thrown around in jazz band and percussion ensemble, school band, is styles. And drum set players especially have to know styles. And what that is knowing a genre and or a style of song, and then being able to come up with the groove that is most appropriate for that song. And there's a lot of styles out there. We could talk about jazz music, rock music, country music, Latin music. And today we're just going to start with one style, and we're going to start with the most popular one, and the one you probably hear a lot throughout each day. And this style is the rock pop genre. So I'm kind of going to combine two and call it rock slash pop. And this style is going to include everything from Led Zeppelin and Queen and those older rock bands, all the way to songs of today with Ariana Grande and Taylor Swift and all of that. So this style includes a ton of songs, a ton of artists, and you're going to get to play it a lot. So the first drum groove we're going to start with is what's called a rock beat. And when we're thinking of playing rock beats, we want to keep a few things in mind. The first thing is that the most important instruments we're going to be playing when we're playing a rock groove is going to be the kick drum, the snare drum, and the hi-hat. So all of your toms, all of your other cymbals are great. You can add them in, you can take them away, but the core of the groove is going to be between the kick drum, the snare drum, and the hi-hat. So we're going to focus on those three instruments today. The other thing we want to think about is within those three instruments, they're not all equally important. The most important grooves, or I should say the most important instruments are going to be the kick drum and the snare drum. And the way I like to think about that is if we take a beat everyone's heard, and you know everyone's heard this, you stomp and then you clap, right? So stomp, stomp. Everybody's heard that groove, and what we're playing right there is kick drum, snare drum, kick drum, snare drum. What you don't hear is a hi-hat part. It becomes much less cool if you play the hi-hat part. Not much happening there, not much of a groove. So the kick drum and the snare drum are going to be the most important. So while we're playing these grooves, you want to make sure that your kick volume and your snare drum volume are pretty loud, pretty high, and they have a lot of power, but you want to make sure your hi-hats are under that. So to start out with this groove, we're going to be thinking of playing eighth notes in our right hand. So we're going to be crossing our right hand over our left on the hi-hats. We're going to be stepping down on the hi-hats with our foot to keep them closed really tight. And we're going to be thinking of playing eighth notes with our right hand. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And we're going to play those eighth notes all the way through very consistently. And then with our left hand on the snare drum, so our hands are crossed and our left hand's on the snare, we're going to be coming down on beats 2 and 4. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And when our hands come down, one thing we want to watch for is that we don't have any flams. So a flam is when one stick hits right before the other. And those are great on snare drum, and they're great in fills, and they're great in a lot of areas in drumming. Right now, when we're playing a rock beat, we want 0 flams. So 1 and 2, when we come down on beats 2 and 4, both hands hit at the exact same time, 0 flams. We're going to add the kick drum in on beats 1 and 3. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that's when our foot's going to come down. Same thing there, just as like the snare drum. When the kick drum comes down, it's coming down with the hi-hat. We want to hit both of those at the same time, 0 flams. So let's put this groove on the drums, let's hear what it sounds like, and see what it sounds like in context. Alright, so you've heard that groove, and I'm sure the first thing you thought is, I've heard that groove 100 times. It's super popular. You'll probably hear it 10 times today. And the fun part about that is it's so popular, you get to play it all the time, and then once you play the groove, you're gonna get to play it in jazz band, you're gonna get to play it in percussion ensemble, you're gonna get to play it in rock band, you're gonna get to play it in all these different areas. So it's a lot of fun, and it's a groove that you have to practice a lot because it comes up all the time. Now, if you've been playing drum set for a while, then that's a groove you can probably already play. And so the next thing we're going to talk about is some variations to that groove that will give you some more options and some more sonic things you can change around and play with, so you can make the groove sound one way, or you can flip it around and make it sound like the complete opposite. So the 2 variations we're going to talk about, really 3, we'll talk about 3 variations. The first one is, once you've practiced that groove and you're comfortable with it, the next thing to do is to make sure that the snare drum is coming down with a shot. And so what that's going to be is you're hitting the rim and the drum at the same time, and it's going to give you basically twice the volume for half the effort, which is really great when you're playing a long rock chart and you have to hammer 2 and 4 over and over and over. Your arm gets really tired. So if you can come down with a rim shot, you're going to save a lot of energy. So that's the first thing to be practicing, is that every 2 and 4 is very consistent coming down with a rim shot. The next thing we're going to talk about are 2 variations on the hi-hat. And the variations we're going to talk about are all going to be accent based. So if you've ever played an accent tap exercise, we're basically going to apply that to the hi-hat. And for this first variation, we're going to put the accent on beats 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you're going to get 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And when you're playing it on the hi-hats, you want to make sure that the accent is on this thicker part of the stick here, and that the unaccented note, the quiet note, is on the tip. And all that does is allow the stick to help you out. This thicker part is going to be, it's going to make a really good accent sound because it's a thick stick, and this thin part's going to be a really great unaccented note because it's nice and thin. And so you just want to make sure you're going back and forth between those. So accent, tap, accent, tap. So for the first variation, we're going to put it on beats 1, 2, 3, and 4. And let's put that on the drums, hear it in context, and see what it sounds like. Alright, so you can hear that drum set groove, just by changing that accent and putting that in there, immediately changes the feel. It has a lot more quarter note pulse to it, and that's one option you can add in to play the same groove but kind of give it a little bit of a change. The next variation we're going to talk about is the exact opposite. So we're going to take the accents and we are going to put them on the ands of the beats, on the upbeats. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Same thing applies on accented notes with the tip of the stick. accented notes with this thick part back here. And this variation really changes the groove. It changes it from like a heavy rock groove to a almost kind of like a hip hop feel, and you hear this this accent, this upbeat accent, all the time in modern pop songs. And you'll probably hear it today if you turn on Mix FM or Kiss FM or anything like that. This is a super common variation. So let's put this on the drums and hear what it sounds like in context now. Awesome. I hope that was fun. I hope you're able to practice these grooves and figure them out. A few things to think about when you're playing them is to, one, go slowly. The slower you play it, the easier it's going to be to make sure everything's coming down at the right time, and to make sure it's in your hands and you can actually play it in time. And the second thing to think about is to play with a click track or a metronome on your phone. My favorite one is just the free one I got from the App Store, and it's awesome. You can plug in some headphones and you can play along to a click while you're playing these grooves. Like I said, put it at something slow, so 60, 70, 75, something like that. And then the third thing, make sure you're having fun. Drum set is a fun instrument, so try it out, have fun, and enjoy. I'll see you guys next time.